This is the B form. Number 1, find in gradient. So remember that slope-intercept form, the equation of the line that's parallel to y equals 1/2 x. It means it's got the same slope, right? So we get y equals 1/2 x. That's like a gimme. And then passes through the point -4, 1. So I would use the point slope formula, right? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, right? And we know that our slope, since it's parallel, it's going to be the same. Again, if I'm saying anything, I'm going too fast, you need some help, just stop me and ask, and we'll make it happen, okay? 1/2 x minus, and we got y minus. And then we're going to use this for the x1 and this for the y1. So again, this is form B that we're looking at here. So we'll do y minus 1 and x minus -4, right, which turns into +4. So we get y minus 1, and then we distribute this 1/2 to both of these. Half of x is 1/2 x, half of 4 is 2. Add 1 to both sides, and we get y equals 1/2 x plus 3 for our answer here. All right? All right. 2, find in slope-intercept form the equation of the line that passes through the point. So they don't give us the slope. We have to find the slope and then use one of the 2 points, right? So if you remember, slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So in this case here, that's -1 minus -5. A fair amount of people put pluses in here, thinking of like midpoint or something like that. So make sure that you're doing the negative in there. And then 3 minus -3. All right, so those turn into positives. The double negatives turn into positives, so that gives us -1 and 5 is 4. 3 and 3 gives us 6. So our slope is 4/6, which is simplifies to 2/3, right? So we get y equals 2/3 x. Okay, and again, ask if something doesn't make sense. Good. 2/3 x, and then I'm going to go back to our point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then we know that our slope is 2/3. And then we got x minus and y minus. And then we can choose either one of these 2 numbers. I'm going to choose this one because it only has 1 negative in there. So this is going to be my x1. That's going to be our y1. So it's y minus -1 and then x minus 3. So that turns into plus, so we got y plus 1 equals, distribute this 2/3 to both parts here, so we got 2/3 x, and then 2/3 times -3, these 3's cancel out, and it's really -1 times 2 is -2. Subtract 1 from both sides, and we get y equals 2/3 x minus 3. Okay? We good on 1 and 2? All right. 3, final cost of the Sounders tickets displayed in the graph. Find the slope and interpret its meaning. So, find 2 nice spots. So it looks like that's a nice spot, and looks like this is a nice spot. Nice, it like intersects right at a nice, right in the 2 lines there. So, and then I'm just going to find this distance, because if you'll remember, slope is rise over run, right? So this here from 40 up to 100 is 60. So we go up 60. And then from here over to here, even though it looks like it's farther, the scale is different. It's only from 0 to 40. So this is actually only a distance of 40. So it's 60 over 40, which reduces down to 1.5 or 1.5. So we can do 1.5 for our slope and then interpret its meaning. So that means for every, so it's rise, it's going to go up $1.50 for every yard away from the goal line that you get. So cost increases by $1.50 for every yard further from the goal line. I was fairly lenient on that. As long as you had like a rough idea of what was going on that, I gave you credit for that. But that's what it should be. So Find the y-intercept and interpret its meaning. So y-intercept is this right here. It's 40. It's literally just where it crosses the y-axis. And so that would mean it's going to cost $40 to be 0 yards from the goal line. So $40 for a ticket on the goal line. On the goal line. All right? And then find equation of the line. There's our slope. There's our y-intercept. As long as you transfer, even if you got these wrong, and then you transferred those wrong numbers correctly down here, then you got credit for this one here. So it's going to be y equals 1.5 x plus 40, or you could put cost equals 1.5 times like distance, like d for distance or whatever you wanted to put for your variables. All right? All right. Number 4, draw the graph of. This one's already in slope-intercept form, so hopefully this one was nice. But again, like a lot of you missed, you didn't get a lot of practice on this last year in Algebra 2, so that's why I think a fair amount of you missed this one. So let's do this. So this right here, this is the y-intercept. That's where we're going to start. We're going to start at 5. And then this here is our slope, -3. There's nothing underneath it, so I'm going to put a 1 underneath it. So that means I'm going to go down 3 to the right 1. I might go down 3 to the right 1 again. And then I'm going to draw myself a nice straightish line. I've got a little cheater button here that helps me with that. That's a little far off. Let's see, looks like it's closer to that. So roughly that's pretty close. Okay. Number 5, you can either do x-intercepts or you can solve it for y, do y equals, right? I think this one's pretty quick to just put it into y equals. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. Y equals 2x plus 8. Right? So here's our y-intercept at plus 8. And then it says 2x is our slope. So we go up 2 over 1. You can keep going up 2 over 1, or you can actually do the opposite now. Go down 2 to the left 1, down 2 to the left 1. And then again, we make ourselves a nice straight line here that goes through all those. And we'll call that one good. Okay? As long as you were close with your line, then I called it good. Okay? Especially if I saw the correct points on there. All right? Good on 4 and 5? All right, 6. Consider the line with the equation x minus 4y equals 8. Find the axes-intercepts of the line. So x-intercept and y-intercept. Okay, now, really quick, if you think about we get the x and y here. Here's our x, and here's our y-axis, right? All along this x-axis right here, we haven't gone up or down at all, so all along that, we know that actually y equals 0 all along the x-axis. And all along the y-axis, it hasn't gone left or right, so that means x equals 0 all along the y-axis. So if I'm looking for the x-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis, I'm going to plug 0 in for this y right here. So that would give me x minus 4 times 0 equals 8. 4 times 0 is 0, so we just get x equals 8. So the x-intercept is going to be 8. If I'm looking for the y-intercept, x equals 0. So then on this equation here, I would put 0 minus 4y equals 8. That 0 is gone. Divide both sides by -4. And we get y equals -2 is the y-intercept. Right? Right. Part B, determine whether the following point lies on the line. So that's where we're going to plug this 4 in. We're going to plug 4 in for x and -1 in for y on this equation right here. So we have x minus 4y equals 8. X now is 4. Minus 4 times y is -1. That should equal 8. Okay, -4 times -1 is +4, so we have 4 plus 4 equals 8, and that is true. So if this ends up being true, then that means that this point is on the line. So yes, it does determine whether the falling point lies on the line. Yes, it does. Okay? And then C really is the same thing. We're going to plug B in for X and -4 in for Y and do the same thing, and we'll actually solve and figure out what B is. Okay, so we've got X minus 4Y equals 8. X now is B. Minus 4 times -4 equals 8. So we get B, -4 times -4 is positive 16. Subtract 16 from both sides, and we get B equals -8. Okay? 1C, number 7, consider the points A and B. Find the midpoint. So, right off of that pink formula sheet that you have, midpoint is x1 plus x2 plus over 2, and then y1 plus y2 over 2. It's different, it's opposite than the slope, right? Because remember, slope you subtract, midpoint you add the points. So, in this case here, we take 9 plus -3 over 2. Those are our two x's. x2, and then y1 and y2. So then we take, that's a comma, -1 plus -5 over 2. So 9 and -3 gives us 6 halves. -1, -5 is -6 halves. So that ends up giving us, oops, let's see, 3. And -3 is our midpoint. 3, -3. All right? Find the slope of AB. So slope, again, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? In this case here, we got -5 minus -1. And then we got -3 minus 9. Okay? So -5 plus 1 is -4. -3 and -9 is -12. So that the two negatives turn into a positive. 4 divided by 12, 4 and 12, reduced down to 1 over 3 for our slope. That's positive 1/3. So there's our slope, 1/3. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So if it's perpendicular bisector, remember our slope is 1/3. So to turn that into our perpendicular slope, we got to flip it over, 3 over 1, and it's positive. We got to switch it to negative. So our perpendicular slope is -3 for our M. Right? And then here's where a lot of people use one of these 2 points, but when you're finding the perpendicular bisector, you have to use this point here for your perpendicular bisector. Okay? Because really what's happening is you've got this graph. Let's say here's your line from this point to that point. You are finding the middle, which is this point right here, and then you've got this line that goes through and makes a 90-degree angle through that point. That's why you have to use this point on the perpendicular bisector. All right? So with that, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Let's see, our slope now we know is -3. And we're going to use this as our x1 and this is our y1. So it's y minus -3 and x minus 3. So that turns into plus. So we get over here y plus 3 equals, distribute this -3 to both, and we get -3x. -3 times -3 is positive 9. And our last step is to subtract 3 from both sides. Y equals -3x plus 6 is going to be our equation. All right? Doing okay so far? Okay, good. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector between these 2 points. So what you just did for problems 7, 8, and 9, you're going to do all 3 of those things really for step 10, because remember our things to find the perpendicular bisector: find the midpoint, find the slope, then find the perpendicular, and then plug that into your point slope formula, which is, again, these steps here. So I'm going to find the midpoint first. Midpoint is going to be negative 5 plus 3 over 2, and then 7 plus negative 1 over 2. Negative 5 and 3 is negative 2 over 2. 7 plus negative 1 is 6 over 2. Negative 2 over 2 is negative 1. 6 over 2 is 3. So there's our midpoint. You get one, by the way, this is a 3-point problem. You get 1 point for the midpoint, 1 point for finding the perpendicular slope, and then 1 point for solving it correctly. All right. So let's see. Next thing is find our slope. Okay. So that's going to be negative 1 minus 7 over 3 minus negative 5. So that gives us negative 8 on the top. Double negative turns into positive, so that's 8 on the bottom. And that gives us negative 1 for the regular slope. So perpendicular slope is going to equal, that's really negative 1 over 1. We flip that over to 1 over 1, and since that's negative, this is positive. So our perpendicular slope is just 1. Okay, and now we can plug that into the point slope. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Our slope for this one is going to be 1. And we're going to use this for x1 and this for y1. Y1 is 3, x1 is negative 1. And we solve. Y minus 3. Distribute that 1 through, and it's just x plus 1. Add 3 to both sides, and we get y equals x plus 4. Y equals x plus 4. All right? We're doing okay for those that are watching. Again, if I'm going too fast, just ask me to slow down, and I will. Okay. 2 more sections, D and then E. And D and E are really closely related. They're all systems stuff, right? So solve the following sets of simultaneous equation using any method. Oops, let's see. Really, on here I should put except graphing. Don't solve any of these by graphing. That's just it's just so inaccurate. You know. It's anyway. So elimination is probably a good one for this, because if we add these 2 lines together, look, these x's drop straight out. That turns into 0. Y plus 5y is 6y. 7 minus 37 is negative 30. Divide both sides by 6, and we get y equals negative 5. Had a fair amount of people that put positive 5 on that because they forgot their negative on this somewhere, and then that threw off your other answer. Okay, that threw off your x answer. Okay. Now that we know that y, look at that, I even didn't put my negative on over there. Okay, so now that we know y equals negative 5, we're going to plug it into one of these 2 equations and solve. I kind of like the first one, looks a little nicer. So 4x plus y, which we now know is negative 5, equals 7. So 4x minus 5 equals 7. Add 5 to both sides. 4x equals 12. Divide both sides by 4, and we get that x is 3. So there's our solution. 3 comma negative 5. Right? Because remember, this is really the equation of, these are 2 lines, and the intersection point of those 2 lines is at 3, negative 5. All right? 12. The 5 and the negative 4 don't really play very well together, but the 6 and the 3, if we take the bigger of those 2, 6, what can we multiply the other line by, this 3, to get to the opposite of 6? So that the opposite of 6 would be negative 6. So we say 3 times what gives me negative 6? Negative 2. Perfect. And then we just multiply that through. Negative 2 times negative 4x is positive 8x. Negative 2 times 3y is negative 6y. Negative 2 times 38 is negative 76, I believe, right? Yeah. And then we just move this other line straight over. 5x plus 6y equals 50, right? Because now when we add these together, the y's drop out. We got 5x plus 8x is 13x. 50 minus 76 is negative 26. Divide both sides by 13, and we get x equals negative 2. So negative 2 is our x. Now that we know what x is, plug it into one of these two equations and figure out what y is. So, doesn't matter which one we do. I'm going to plug it into the second one. Negative 4 times negative 2 plus 3y equals 38. So that's positive 8 plus 3y equals 38. Subtract 8 from both sides. 3y equals 30. Right? Divide by 3. And y is 10. So there's our two solutions for 11 and 12. One solution each, obviously. All right? Doing okay? Okay, one last section, 1E. And this is both dealing with the same thing here anyway. Mookie buys 6 bottles of yogurt shampoo and 4 tubes of Cheeto chapstick, which is actually a real thing. You can Google Cheetos chapstick, and I'll show you a picture. It's I wouldn't suggest getting it, but cost him $27.30. So, and then Savannah buys some too. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that Y is going to be cost. It's asking how much did 1 bottle of yogurt shampoo cost. So Y is going to be the, oh, not Y. Let's do, oh yeah, Y for yogurt. Cost of yogurt shampoo, right? 1 bottle. I like to assign my variables. And then C is going to be the cost of a tube of Cheeto chapstick. One tube. Right? Okay. So up here it says Mookie buys 6 bottles of yogurt shampoo and then 4 tubes of Cheeto chapstick, and it cost $27.30. You following my drift as to why I signed what I did there? Good? Okay. And then Savannah does the same thing. 10 bottles of yogurt shampoo and 2 tubes of Cheeto chapstick, which costs $36.68. Okay? So, we're trying to solve for shampoo, but anyway, like we just need to find out what either C or Y equals, right? So 6 and 10, it's not easy to multiply one or the other to get the other one. So let's look at this one. 4 is the bigger of the two. So I'm going to say, what do I multiply this line here to get to the opposite of 4? So that's negative 4, right? So 2 times what? Negative 2 is going to give us negative 4 for that, and that's going to make the C's drop out, right? So distribute that negative 2 through, and we get negative 10y, negative 20y, right? And then minus 4c equals, let's see, calculator. And let's see, we got 36.68 times negative 2 gives us negative 73.36. Okay, and then we're going to bring this one over as well. 6y plus 4c equals 27.30. And then we're going to add these two lines together where the c drops out, right? Negative 14y. And then we take 27.30 minus 73.36. 27.30, and we get negative 46.06. Okay? Divide both sides. Oh no. I don't want this. What happened to my stuff? There we go. I was just trying to get rid of that so we can see stuff. Sorry. Divide both sides by negative 14. And we get y equals, divide by this, y equals $3.29 for a tube of Cheeto chapstick. So $3.29 is, oh sorry, that's the y. That's how much a bottle of yogurt shampoo costs. So we're good on that one, 13. And then 14 says if Jimmy brings $44 to the store and spends it all on Cheeto chapstick, how many tubes could he buy? So now we have to figure out how much a tube of Cheeto chapstick costs. We already figured out how much the yogurt costs, so now let's figure out the Cheeto chapstick. So let's plug this 3.29 in for one of these Y's up here. I'm going to plug it in for this second one that looks a little nicer. So 10 times 3.29 plus 2C equals 3668. All right? That's 3290 plus 2C is 3668. So subtract 3290 from both sides. All right, and we get 2C is, let's see, 36.68 minus 32.9 gives us 378. Now that's for 2 tubes, so we got to divide that by 2 to find that each Cheeto chapstick costs $1.89. Okay, so if a tube of Cheeto chapstick costs $1.89, he's got 44 bucks. We're going to take 44, divide that by 1.89 to see how many full tubes he can get. 44 divided by 1.89 gives us 23.28. Obviously, this decimal part doesn't matter because you're not going to buy 0.28 of a tube, so you get 23 tubes of Cheeto chapstick, which is 23 tubes too many. Okay?